Hey fight fans, get ready for some wild stories coming your way.
Arigato, Japanese fans.
We've got an incredible behind-the-scenes moment about Khabib that'll warm your heart. Trust me, this one shows a side of the eagle that cameras never catch. But that's not all. Conor McGregor is stirring up chaos again. He's going head-to-head with the UFC over a massive $250 million boxing deal that got shut down. And guess who's jumping into this drama? Jake Paul's taking shots at the Notorious One, and this time, it's getting personal. Oh, and before I forget, Merab Dvalishvili is turning into an absolute force in the octagon. We've got some raw emotions from the Nurmagomedov brothers after a tough loss. And Tony Ferguson? Well, he just made a move that nobody saw coming. Buckle up, because this is the kind of show where every story packs a punch. Let's dive right in. Let's kick things off with the latest McGregor bombshell. Picture this. Conor was about to land a whopping $250 million payday for boxing Logan Paul, but the UFC wasn't having any of it. In a candid chat with the Schmo, McGregor dropped this bomb. The deal was already on the table, contracts ready to go, but the UFC stepped in and shut it down cold. But here's where it gets spicy. The Notorious One isn't taking this lying down. He's threatening to do something that could shake up the entire fight game. Listen to this. McGregor's talking about showing up at a bare-knuckle fighting championship event, no warning, no promotion, just walking out to his music and throwing down. His exact words: "One of these days, you'll just hear my music hit, and I'll be there, fists wrapped, no gloves, ready to scrap."
One of these days, you just hear my music come onto the stage here in Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, and now I come with me fist wrapped with no gloves and a fight out of nowhere, no promo, no nothing, just fighting a random fight in a car. That's could be where my future holds, and you know, legal, just making claims and all this bollocks. That's what is. That's how.
Now, Jake Paul, you know he couldn't resist jumping into this fire. He went straight for McGregor's throat on social media saying, "My guy, you're a total clown. You don't control your career. You're just a puppet," saying, "Thank you for the payment, sir," to the conductor who pulls your strings. The whole situation's got the fight world buzzing.
Paul, BKFC, UFC, what's next?
BKFC Saturday night, baby, live from Wells Fargo Center. For me, in a competitive standpoint, UFC. Let's bring it home.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
We've got McGregor, one of the biggest names in combat sports, essentially being told he can't chase a $250 million payday. Then he's threatening to go rogue with bare-knuckle fighting, while Jake Paul's out there poking the bear, calling him powerless in his own career. The real question everyone's asking, is this McGregor just blowing smoke, or are we about to see the most dramatic power struggle in UFC history? Because let's be real, if Conor actually shows up at a BKFC event without UFC's blessing, we're talking about a game-changing moment in combat sports. You know what's fascinating about the fight game? Sometimes trying to break a fighter becomes the very thing that makes them unstoppable. That's exactly what's happening with Merab Dvalishvili, and his coach Ray Longo just spilled some serious tea about how the UFC accidentally created their own nightmare. Picture this. Longo's sitting there on Serious Fight Nation, grinning like a proud dad, and he drops this truth bomb. Everything we've been saying about Merab for the last year, it's all coming true now. The UFC thought they were being slick, throwing him to the wolves with these killer matchups. But guess what? They built themselves a monster. And when Longo talks about Merab's cardio, that's where things get really interesting. He breaks it down like this. Look, we've always known Merab had good cardio, always the hardest worker in the gym. But here's the secret sauce. This guy actually loves what he does. He'd do this for free. Then Longo drops this perfect analogy that'll make you think, you ever get tired sitting at a concert? No, right? Because you're loving every minute. That's Merab in the octagon. But it gets better. Longo reveals how they've turned Merab's natural work ethic into something superhuman. After regular training, most fighters would call it a day. Not Merab. This man's out there hitting the hills, jumping on the treadmill, and then, get this, asking for 5 more rounds of sparring. Who does that? The craziest part? All those tough fights the UFC threw at him, thinking they'd expose him? Each one just added another layer of steel to his confidence. Every time he overcame one of their tests, he came back hungrier, stronger, more convinced he could take on anybody. And now, the UFC's got themselves a problem. They've got a fighter who's not just physically unstoppable, they've created someone who actually gets stronger the more you try to break him. As Longo puts it, when you combine that mindset with his training ethic, you get something superhuman. The irony isn't lost on anyone in the fight game. In trying to derail the Merab hype train, the UFC might have just created their next dominant champion. And the scariest part? He's still getting better. Let's talk about a story that hits right in the feels. The Nurmagomedov brothers and how they're handling their first taste of defeat. Man, if you thought you knew everything about family and fighting, this one's going to show you something different. So here's the deal. Umar Nurmagomedov, who's been this unstoppable force, just faced his first loss against Merab Dvalishvili. But here's what most people don't know. This man fought with a broken hand from the second round. Think about that for a second. 2 full rounds, throwing punches with shattered bones, refusing to quit. That's some warrior spirit right there. Now, his brother Usman's getting ready for his own title fight against Paul Hughes, and he's opening up about what this loss means to their family. Listen to what he posted on Instagram. It'll give you chills. People will always find flaws in you. You can't please everyone. But brother, you fought like a man till the end. Fights don't make you more or less of a man. But when Usman talks about it in person, that's where you really see the brotherhood shine. He says, from Omar's side, I don't think he lost. He won those first 3 rounds, then fought 4 more with a broken arm. That's champion heart right there. You can hear the pride in his voice, mixed with this fierce protective instinct.
But for Umar's side, I'm not think he's lose. He won first 3 rounds and he fight for like last 4 rounds with his broke arm. You know, he have champion heart and he will back soon, inshallah. Of course, it's make me little sad, not little like so much sad, but I have focus on my fight.
Championship series. Finish
The beautiful thing about the Nurmagomedovs, they don't see losses the way most fighters do. For them, it's not about the record, it's about honor, about how you carry yourself when things get tough. Usman puts it perfectly. We accept what we can't change with dignity. These fights aren't the most important thing in life. And get this, instead of making excuses or hiding from the loss, they're using it as fuel. Usman's carrying this experience into his own camp, not as a weight, but as wisdom. He admits it made him sad, not just a little, but deeply. Yet there's this unshakable family confidence that says, we'll work on the mistakes and come back stronger than ever. This isn't just about winning or losing anymore. It's about a family of warriors showing the world what real strength looks like, not just in victory, but in how you handle those moments when things don't go your way. And if you ask me, that's worth more than any undefeated record. Let me break down these wild developments that are shaking up the fight game right now. Trust me, you're going to want to hear this. First up, Corey Sandhagen just dropped a truth bomb that's got everyone talking. He's calling out Sean O'Malley, and he's not playing nice about it. Check this out.
Hey, let's be real. O'Malley has no business fighting Merab for an immediate rematch. He got beat up in the first fight. He's going to get beat up in the second fight. No one wants to see that fight. I'm not booked yet. I want to fight. I am so damn bored. I'll even give this fool as much time as he wants, the way that Aljamain gave him as much time as he wants. Just UFC, make the fight that the fans want to see, which is me and O'Malley. Make it happen soon. I'm so fucking bored.
But here's where it gets interesting. Sandhagen's so hungry for action, he's willing to give O'Malley all the time he needs to prepare. That's confidence right there, folks. Now hold on to your seats because Tony Ferguson just pulled the most Tony Ferguson move ever. El Kukwi, at 40 years old, has signed with the Global Fight League, and nobody saw this coming. The crazy part? He's still listed on the UFC's welterweight roster. Fans are split. Some are hyped to see him keep throwing down in a new promotion, while others are heartbroken that the UFC didn't give him one proper farewell fight. You know what Ferguson says about it all? When I'm hurt, I love it. Because pain, that's real. Everything else, happiness, crying, could be fake. But pain, that's real. And speaking of champions making moves, Alexander Volkanovski's plotting his comeback, and it's sooner than you might think. The featherweight king is eyeing that April date, and you can see it in his eyes. He's got something cooking. During his interview, he couldn't even keep a poker face when talking about his return. He's trying to play it cool, saying nothing's completely locked in, but his grin tells a different story. But wait, let me throw in this wild card. Raoni Barcelos just casually dropped that he made more than 9 Bitcoin for his fight with Islam Makhachev. And get this, the pay-per-view numbers actually went up after his opponent pulled out. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. What's crazy about all this is how it shows the fight game never stops evolving. You've got veterans making bold moves, champions plotting returns, and contenders calling out champions while crypto payments are becoming the new normal. It's like every week, the sport writes a new chapter that nobody could have predicted. Let me wrap up with a story about Khabib that'll show you exactly why he's not just a legend in the cage, but a champion in life too. Josh Thompson just shared something that never made headlines, and it's the kind of story that reminds you what real greatness looks like. So picture this. Thompson calls Khabib out of the blue about 2 weeks ago. There's this kid battling cancer in Las Vegas, huge Khabib fan, and Thompson's hoping maybe, just maybe, the Eagle might spare a few minutes.
Run into them, it's like you guys never skipped a beat. I'll give you another example. Last week, or 2 weeks ago when I was in California, I called up Khabib and I said, hey, I have a friend who's very sick who lives in Las Vegas. I knew they were training in Las Vegas. And I said, I'd like if you would, meet him. And he's like, I said, he's got cancer. He's dealing with something. His kids are young. His oldest son, I think, is a freshman or sophomore, and the other ones just get younger from there. He's a fan. He's, obviously a fan. And so I said, if you get a chance or an opportunity, he's like, come by. He's like, we'll jump in the car. I'll go to wherever you want me to go. Didn't even hesitate.
Now, most fighters, even the good ones, might need to check their schedule or have their team arrange something. But Khabib, his response was instant. Come by. We'll jump in the car. I'll go wherever you want me to go. But here's what makes this even more special. Khabib didn't stop there. He says, if you wait till after training, I'll bring the whole team. No cameras, no social media posts, no PR team spinning this into promotional gold. In fact, if Thompson hadn't shared this story, nobody would have even known it happened. And that's the real Khabib. A man who understands that true greatness isn't about what you do when the world is watching, but what you do when nobody's looking. Here's this undefeated champion, one of the most dominant fighters ever, treating a fan's request with the same seriousness he brought to his title defenses. You know what's wild? This is just one story that happened to slip out. Makes you wonder how many other moments like this we've never heard about, right? And speaking of hearing more stories like this, if you've been enjoying these behind-the-scenes glimpses into the fight world, these raw, unfiltered moments that show who these warriors really are, you know what to do. Hit that like button and join our fight family by subscribing. Because in this sport, the best stories aren't always the ones that happen in the octagon. Sometimes they're the quiet moments of greatness that happen when the cameras aren't supposed to be rolling.